Hello, everyone.
Yeah.
Now we're live. All right.
Whoa,
That's
sweet.
the official signal. Hello, everyone. Terry Miller, the Disc Golf Guy, joined by Thomas. We are here for our Friday night recap taking place at Tyyni.
Exactly. I can't believe we're already going on Friday because it seems like time is being flying by so fast with everything, all of the little events and everything going on, and it's been so much fun. I completely lost track of time.
Well, the fact that we just have one day left in the official competition is almost a little disheartening. I feel like I just got here. I know you guys have been doing work for months, if not almost for an entire year, to prepare for everything to wrap up tomorrow. But it's been very exciting. It's been a pleasure and an honor to be here, and I'm glad that we can, again, recap what we saw today, maybe throw out a prediction or have some projections for tomorrow. We have to check your count. Apparently, you're pretty dialed in on the predictions category. So everyone back in the States, it's just like in Back to the Future. We have the book. We're ahead of time. We're 8 hours ahead of you in the States. So what they need to do is place their bets based on what you're saying here now, and then somehow when it all catches up, I don't know, they could become millionaires. Is that how it works?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, come on. I was practically pulling those numbers out of my hat yesterday because you put me in the hot seat. You asked for predictions, and I was just kind of winging it based on what I know about the course and what I know about the players. And apparently, I should put in the lottery, because most of the predictions actually were really, really close.
They were really good, and we'll get to your genius in a few moments. Let's start on the FPO side. They started out again earlier in the day. They started, I believe the first tee time was around 8:50, final tee time at about 9:30 when we saw our FPO lead card. And both MPO and FPO took a little hike, we'll say 20 minutes west of where we were previously, and we find ourselves over at the Ford course. Now, give everyone a little insight to the Ford course as to opposed to what we saw over at Nivas the other day.
As we were discussing yesterday, Ford is a whole new challenge for these players. In Nivas, the whole idea is to throw far and throw accurately and stay in the fairway. But the Nivas was a kind of course that really rewards the long drives off the tee. Whereas in Ford, we're practically inside the woods, tight fairways all the time. Every single fairway has wood everywhere, but you still need to be able to throw far. And as we were talking yesterday, the key to surviving the Ford course is committing to your lines, committing to your angles, and then just trying to ride the course as it tries to beat you down. Yeah,
and I'll go ahead and say it's almost a little deceptive when you start on hole number 1, which is a very big dog leg that goes from right to left, and that's probably the hole with the least amount of trees on the entire course. It's the only one as you're just getting into the wooded area. And it's like, all right, well, this doesn't seem too wooded. Then, of course, by hole 2, you're like, okay, now I see what's going on here.
Yeah.
So for everyone in the States that might be watching that we know, or others that have traveled abroad, I had a sense of Charlotte golf. That's something that I think a lot of people could relate to, so I'll use Charlotte golf. I'd also say some Western Wisconsin golf for somebody that's local to me, but Charlotte golf with some very long, some very narrow fairways, some very tough lines to hit, with plenty of trees out there. That's what I would most compare what I saw at the Ford course today.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And also now it's funny when you mention hole number 1 looking kind of open. And while I agree with that, but even as you approach the basket on hole 1, our players threw both in the FPO and the MPO threw some pretty spectacular tee shots because you still need to clear about 340 feet off the tee just to get clear of the OB. And the players were throwing there, showing off their distance skill, and all of a sudden they find themselves pinched between trees. I mean, only about less than 200 feet away from the basket, but really looking at some tough stances, tough lies, and the trees sort of start to play a role already on that second shot on hole 1, which on the map and even on site looks to be deceptively open.
Well, yeah, and then like we said, it starts to close in, and there was plenty of color on the scorecards here today. I've pulled up our FPO, the feature card or the lead card that I followed throughout the entire round, and we'll start with our leader in Kristen Tatara. She was tied for the lead. She really had an interesting front 9 or 11, we'll say. She really struggled. She had some putting woes, and she sometimes just flat out missed her line. And then it felt like she got a little bit more comfortable on the back. And the last 6 holes of the round, she actually parred out. And that still gave her the +8 on the day. So that tells you just how much of a struggle she started out with. And Tyyni on the opposite side, I feel like her round was the reverse of that.
Exactly.
Very clean on the front 9, only really one mistake on hole number 7 where she took a bogey, and then after that she had a few up and down struggles. But here we are, we see her tied for the lead along with Likke.
That is true. And this is actually when we were talking about the predictions. And one of the things we discussed yesterday was that there is sort of a home field advantage to the Finnish players, to the Scandinavian players, because we're sort of used to playing inwards like this. And in Tyyni's case, this seemed to be the case. She looked extremely comfortable on the course, and even with some of the tree kicks that were probably not in her playbook, but she could still sort of collect herself and not worry about that, because that's the kind of golf we're used to playing here. And the one thing that really stuck out to me was that she felt, or she looked on the outside to be most at home out of the ladies in the lead card.
Yeah, it seemed like she was relatively comfortable throughout the entire day. She was also a very even-keeled player. I didn't see her get, and I'll admit I didn't see a lot of emotion. I'll say I think that's a little bit of a cultural difference. I feel like there's a lot more respect and professionalism that usually we find with our players from outside of the U.S. And so some of the highs were a little subdued, and some of the lows were not painful to watch, in that sense that you felt like they were unprofessional. I have never gotten that sense whatsoever in these last 2 days.
No, and even when those mishaps took place, I think they were sort of like you couldn't really see that, right? So it was very, like you said, like even the entire card, because Ford can really get to the back of your brain. Because once you start to jump on that bogey train, it will be extremely difficult to jump off, because you need, we've talked about this so many times now, but you need to commit. You need to be able to do that exact line, that exact angle. And when you start feeling even slightly uncomfortable with that, so you start sort of questioning it, that okay, this is the exact same shot that I did not succeed with on the last hole, that sort of loop can get stuck into the back of your brain at Ford, and that will mean disaster. And thankfully, at least to me, we did not see that happening.
No, and I'll just say, I don't feel like there's any point on that course where you can let up mentally whatsoever. You need to maintain your focus, because if you're not trying to hit a tight fairway, you're going to find an elevated basket, or you may find something that dips way down, and all of a sudden you're in the bottom of a valley, or you're off the side of a hill or something like that. There is danger of some kind just about everywhere. The only thing I didn't find on that course, I found a few bugs. I didn't find any water, but outside of that, you found all sorts of danger and challenge out there. And what's great too is yesterday, when we didn't have to see our players scramble as much and really fight out of the rough, so to speak, because it was really hard to find, today we saw their arsenal. We saw them have to pull out all their tools. I saw a lot more forehands today. I saw a forehand roller or two. Some of those trick shots and some of those creative and inventive ways that we see our players really get challenged out on a course.
Exactly. I was unfortunate enough today in the sense that I did not get to talk to very many of the FPO field after their round to really interview them and listen to their feelings. But I did get a chat in with Tina Oakley. And what stuck to me with her was when she said that I loved the Ford course, just because of the fact that I had to use every single shot in my arsenal to get through that course. And I think that was one of the key things today. There was a lot of scramble play, but that happens when you go to the wooded courses because you cannot be perfect off the tee the entire time. And therefore, the scrambling skill, which I think is a skill, really comes into play if you still want to be able to score well. And again, I think that is one of the things that gives the Scandinavians and the Finns a little bit of an edge on a course like Ford.
Yeah, I could see that. Well, in fact, thanks to UDisc, I believe we have some statistics that we can pull up. UDisc is out there doing the MPO and FPO, and we have some side-by-side statistics. I think that's a better look than what we provide on screen. So as we're looking up there, we can see where everyone will say had their strong suit or where maybe someone struggled. And how crazy is it to look at and see that Henny is not leading in any of the categories, but is a tie for first place.
Exactly.
How does that happen?
The easy answer to that one is Ford.
Okay.
That's the easy answer.
Okay.
But how that happens, we already talked about this. She was playing extremely even and extremely comfortable. It seemed that her round had 0 ups and 0 downs. So it was just a very professional, routine even round to maintain that constant and consistent level of play at the Ford course. And I'm guessing that is the reason.
And then her co-leader in Luque is at 92% circle one putting. Very impressive putting out here this weekend. And she leads in a number of categories as you see her in that tie for first. We were just talking about her circle two putting at 23% along with Kristen's. And then also seeing her in that parked percentage. It's 3%, but that's still leading the field, which is awesome to see out there. So the one thing that I'll take away as we're looking at those stats, if I had to summarize what I saw out there today, putting would be the one word that I saw as a legitimate struggle, and that was mainly by our leader after yesterday in Kristen. I feel like there's been a few times where she has put herself in position, whether it be for a birdie or for the par, and she's not drawing metal. And these are putts that I would expect her to make all day long, routine putts, and she's not drawing metal on them, and then she usually has made then the comeback putt. So I don't know if there's a slight just mental lapse or in concentration or whatever, but then we go to the back nine, and she gets a foot or two outside the circle, and she makes 3 or 4 of those. So there's something going on right now within Kristen's, between her ears, that if she wants any chance at trying to win this tomorrow or now come from behind, she's going to need to figure that out, because I was really surprised to see it in opening day, and I was even more surprised to see it again today. So putting would be the number one thing I saw in the FPO field today.
While I agree with the analysis, I still need to mention that when we'll go to the MPO side of today, this same phenomenon took place not only with one player, but for some reason today at Ford, putting seemed to be very difficult to a lot of players, both on the lead card, on the chase card, even in the third card. We were witnessing some extremely uncharacteristic putting. What do you call that? Like putting back and forth.
3 putting.
Well, for example, 3 putting. They could be 2 putting,
2
putting, or 3
3
putting,
putt.
but very uncharacteristically. We saw that several times today, both for the FPO and for the MPO. So I'm wondering, because today was kind of windy, and Ford is deceptive also in the sense that even though we're inside the woods that sort of take away the wind effect, sometimes the greens would still be exposed. So that might be a reason that the wind, because the wind is not consistent, it causes some sort of an extra mental baggage, maybe, to the putting. Because I saw some players kick up the sand just to see how the wind is moving, and then kick up the sand again, going like, okay, it differently than it did in the previous kick. And I think that might have something to do with it for both of these divisions.
All right. Well, tomorrow they're going to head, of course, to a different location. They're going to be right here on site where we are.
Yes.
As they're going to be attacking this course. So we'll see whether the winds are up or not. And then even if there are windy conditions, who will battle those the best? And I think that'll be great to see on both MPO and FPO.
Yes.
We caught up, or I should say I caught up after filming the round. I was able to catch up with our co-leader, and I got a few words from her, and I think we'll check in with her now. We'll be back in a moment. I'm joined by Lykke Sandvik of Norway.
Yeah.
Pretty solid round out there today. How did it feel?
It was a lot of ups and downs. Yeah. I had 2 doubles and 4 birdies, and I feel like it was birdie bogey all the way, almost. I had a really solid start, so that was good. And I kept it through all the rounds, so that was pretty good.
Well, you found yourself now in a tie for first, so you can't really complain about that.
No.
Now, I've been following you on Instagram, and I see that every single day you're either working out or throwing in a field or doing something to practice. Where's all that motivation come from?
I don't know. I just want to be the best.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. So what has it been like for the first 2 days here? Yesterday's course, I feel like, was very different from today. Is there a course that you liked better yesterday or today?
I don't know. I really like the wooded courses.
Okay.
But I do like Nevas and open courses too. So, yeah.
So you like them all. So no
I like them
problems
all.
there. Exactly. Now, tomorrow you're going to be tied for the lead going into the final day. Do you feel any pressure? Are you excited? What are your feelings for it?
I'm more excited than I feel the pressure. But I'm going to be nervous. I was really nervous today. But it's fun.
Well, what do you think of the course tomorrow? I feel, is it maybe a combination, little open and a little bit wooded?
Yeah. I really like Sibbe. That's my favorite course.
Okay, so it's great that we're going to be finishing that.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Now, everyone either is watching the podcast or just got done watching the video blog. Anything you want to say to everybody out there?
I want to thank everyone that follows me and supports me. That really means a lot, and I really appreciate it. Yeah, I hope you follow me tomorrow, and I hope you guys are rooting for me. Thank you.
All right. Now, please give us something in Norwegian that you can say to everybody that I won't understand.
Hei alle sammen, tusen takk for at dere følger meg, og jeg så sykt glad at jeg norsk.
All right, that's Lykke Sandvik, and we're signing out. I'm the Disc Golf Guy. We'll catch you guys tomorrow. All right, I'm not sure if she was swearing at me. I'm assuming not. She was very...
I don't think so.
Okay.
She looks happy.
She was very gracious. Well, you could be happily swearing at me as I'm out on the course. But we're really excited to see the conclusion tomorrow. We'll talk a little bit about who we're going to see. What can you tell us as the lead card was shaken up just a little bit today?
So Jenny is now tied with Lykke in the lead. Lykke is getting used to being tied to the lead, apparently, because this will be the second time in a row, or second day in a row now for her. And I think she's been playing really consistently, and the same can be said with about Jenny. And therefore, I think these two are going to show us a battle tomorrow, especially given the weather condition that we're supposed to be playing in a rather optimal weather. Kristin will be there, as she always is. Last year, she played really well at Sibbe. Okay. You can never count her out. And I'm still kind of guessing, again, that she will probably be fighting her way back to the top, at least tied. I would be extremely excited if this would go down to some sort of an additional sudden death hole type of a battle, because that would be awesome to see. But we're going to see how it goes. You need to remember, we have had a tied first place after each round, so that is a possibility also for tomorrow. And then also one shout out to Heidi Laine. I've only heard of her, and heard of her accomplishments earlier, playing FPO in Finland. But she played Ford course really well, and since Sibbe and Ford are somewhat relatively similar, I think that Heidi's gonna do pretty well also tomorrow, and therefore it will be very exciting to see her play in the lead card, because I actually haven't seen her play in person.
It will be, and I'm super excited to see yet another new face. And again, thanks to UDisc, who's working on your profile here. UDisc, this is a great stat that UDisc provides to us on the back end, usually when we're doing live or post-production. And there you can look at the hot scores that came in today. And then also you can, if you see the arrows that are next to the players' names or their profile pictures, that is the number of positions they moved up or down with those scores. So we affectionately refer to those as the Nico arrows from Waco a few years ago. But anyway.
But as you can see from this one, as I was just saying, Haiti shot the hot round today for the FPO. And I believe because the courses are similar in that sense, I think that she will be strong coming in to the lead card tomorrow.
All right. Well, and do we have three, if I look at my flags correctly, three different countries? Yes. Norway, Finland, and Estonia all represented tomorrow.
Exactly. And again, as we've touched on before, there's this sort of a home advantage that is clearly visible.
Not that you're a homeboy here calling for any of that home advantage.
Of course I'm calling in for that. I am very proud.
All right, you should be. Well, good luck to all the ladies and the women tomorrow as we are going to conclude. I'm excited to go out there and film. I'm not excited. I see the tee time was pushed up 20 minutes, but no, we're going to be going off at 9:10. So if you're in the area and you can come out and make it, of course, we'd love to see that huge live in-person gallery.
And if you cannot make it tomorrow, because it is the final, there will be the full live broadcast of the FPO lead card with commentary, and also later on the MPO lead card with commentary.
Hosted by
yours truly, naturally. So no, but really, I would really hope that if you cannot come here in person, if you're watching this from your home, please join us. Please tune in on that one. Because we really love it. We're doing this for your enjoyment, so it's always nice to have you online.
And we are guaranteed to have a great battle here tomorrow. I can tell you that much. All right, let's move over to the MPO side, who of course played a few hours later in the afternoon. Exact same course, exact same tees, and they attacked the Ford course. What did you see over there as you were following along on the MPO side?
I was following the lead card and the chase card when we were doing the live commentary, although I only got to see the chase card play on, I think, 3 or 4 holes, because we were experiencing some backup along holes 10, 11, and 12 at Ford, which are there's a stretch of 4 longish par 4s at the backside of the course, and there was, if I remember correctly, hearing somebody mention that at the worst part, I think they had some sort of a backup where they had to wait for a couple of cards before that they could continue the play on hole 11. But still, what really stuck out to me most was that the Finns were starting off really strong, whereas our leader, or let's say co-leader, the superstar Eagle McMahon himself, had a really slow start. And we were talking about putting woes already. Eagle started by 3 putting already on hole 1, whereas Väinö, tied for first place, took his birdie. So there was already a 2-stroke swing after hole 1.
Wow.
And it seemed that it rattled Eagle a little, because he was really struggling also on hole 2, and again on the putting green.
Yeah,
and only on the putting green. And it continued for a while after that until he sort of got back to his pace and then started doing things right.
Yeah, and it looked like he didn't pick things back up until roughly hole 5. We're going to here's a look again at the hot scores of the day and the moves that were made as we look at those. What anything stand out or surprise you possibly on that great board there by UDisc?
Actually, surprised? No. The only thing that surprised me is that my predictions were actually that spot on that we were talking about already, because I said yesterday that Ford course plays to the strengths of a lot of the Finnish pros, and we were bringing up names like Seppo Paju, for example, to do well and predicting him to do well. And if we look at the hot scores today, I think that the 6 best scores shot today were all done by Finnish players, and I'm ashamed to say this, that I completely forgot my favorite buddy when we were talking about these players yesterday, hot round guy of the day, Janne Hirsimäki, tied together with Leo Piironen, both of them good friends, excellent players, and especially Janne he was on flames on that course today, shooting an 8 under. We were also talking about yesterday about the predictions on what the scores could be like today, and we're talking somewhere in the ballpark of, say, 5 under to 7 under. So it appears that the hot round was 8 under, but then we have a lot of players shooting either 7 under or 6 under. So that prediction was pretty close as well. And I think that the only really big thing standing out to me is that Eagle was so low on that list.
Okay,
so he was really struggling a little, and therefore I wouldn't say losing positions, because he hasn't, but he was unable to pull off a big enough margin on the competition today, and all of a sudden we have a lot of players inside only a few strokes again after Ford, because the Finnish guys were pretty much at home and shooting really, really hot rounds. Teemu Nissinen shooting extremely well. Tuomas Hyytiäinen shooting extremely well. Seppo Paju shooting 6 under, as predicted, and so on.
Well, excuse me, as I do appreciate the insight. I'll admit, myself and Johnny Rumble, we may have picked up a little cold, I think, or something on the plane on the way over, and it's just attacked us in the last 2 days. What I was going to ask, and I don't know if Josh or Matt are available from UDisc, the last time, if ever, Eagle McMahon has opened a round with bogey. I mean, it's just, he's obviously so good, and to see him make those mistakes back to back, and now you mentioned it was due to a 3-putt situation on the green. That's incredible. That and then his struggles continued, like you said, on hole number 2. Just think about all the momentum and the strokes as I'm looking at his score and seeing that he's 2 over after 4 holes. Meanwhile, someone in second, or Simon Lizotte, is 2 under. Yeah,
and Väinö Mäkelä, who he was tied with for the lead, was 2 under after 4 holes.
Yeah, so quite a momentum swing, and like you said, he ended up getting it together, and ultimately he went on to birdie 6 out of the next 8 holes,
exactly,
where he gained that momentum back. I mentioned it earlier. I'm not going to talk about hole 11, but it certainly took a bite out of plenty of players today, both on the FPO side, and I even saw on the MPO side, it came in as the single most difficult hole relative to par today. It looks like our lead card probably helped push the averages down, but hole 11, give everyone at home a quick overview of what that looks like and feels like.
Hole 11 is a beast. It is an extremely narrow tunnel where you need to be able to turn over slightly towards to the right and still carry about 110 meters, 115 meters or so, 400 feet, a little over 400 feet, where you need to be able to throw low but far, without fading too much to the left, because the trees on the left are like tar. As soon as you go left, it's going to suck in your disc, and those pine trees there are so many of them, and they are very tightly packed, which means that finding a line out of those woods will prove to be extremely difficult for any player of any skill level going there. And then after that, about 400 plus feet or so of that narrow tunnel, you have a dogleg left that is almost exactly 90 degrees. And of course you have OB long, OB right, and finally OB behind the basket, just to make things that much more easy for our players. And there were also some of those sticky trees guarding the basket also. So after clearing that about 400 plus feet, you would still have to be able to navigate about 150 to 200 feet to that guarded basket. And as we saw on the lead card, the score was 2 under for those 4 players, so 2 pars and 2 birdies. And one of the key reasons was that their tee shots were exceptionally good.
Okay.
There was only one mishap for Samuel that happened. He went left, as he shouldn't, but he got an opening, and he used that opening perfectly to go over the top of everything. so that he found himself inside circle 2, if I remember correctly, after 2 shots. And I was worried when I was looking at that shot, or when I was looking at him throw that shot, I was worried that it was not going to carry enough distance to clear those sticky woods, but it did. It hit just the outside, and then he got an opening where he could try for his putt. Unfortunately, he couldn't. Oh, there I said unfortunately again. People have been teasing me about it all day, but unfortunately, he was unable to capitalize then on that putt. But the rest of the players, they were just pretty much bombing that whole narrow fairway and parking their discs in the perfect positions.
Well, clearly that's what it was taking, because again, to close that out and put a hole 11 to bed for at least till next year's event from me, 4.65 is what it averaged on the men's side today. And I believe when I was talking to Josh from UDisc, I think he said it was averaging close to a full 6 on the women's side. So a very, very difficult hole out there on the Ford course. All right, so we've concluded on just how smart you are. You correctly nailed that after 2 rounds, our leader would be sitting at 15 under. That's exactly where Eagle is. You said that last night. They can check the tapes. I think we can still do that. Check tapes. But that's where we see Eagle McMahon sitting. And tomorrow we expect fireworks, just like on the FPO side. Nobody's going to go down without a fight on this MPO side, and we have I would say a handful of very competent players that can come up and still take this title.
I fully agree. We touched on this already when we were talking with or about the FPO for tomorrow, but Sibbe and Ford courses share certain characteristics together. One of them being that we're still playing in rather dense woodland type of terrain and scenery here, and that means being accurate off the tee and having that good distance control for your shots is going to be key in playing well here in Sibbe. And last year Janne was doing very well here, Joona Heinonen was doing really well here, Seppo Paju was doing exceptionally well here, except for one hole where he actually lost the second place to Greg Barsby last year. But still, I mean, all of the players, I would say all of the players in the first 4 or even 5 cards are still capable of making moves tomorrow, even though moving day was today. Yeah,
and I was just going to say that Eagle has a single stroke advantage right now, but you have to go down all the way to a tie for 17th before he has a full 5 strokes. So he sits at 15 under. Then we see 3 gentlemen that are also on the lead card, of course, with him that are sitting at 14. The entire second card is at 13 under, and then we have a few 12s and 11s and so on. So, as you just mentioned, the top 3 or 4 cards, if somebody gets really hot, they could come and win this off the second or the third card.
Exactly. I mean, a 2-stroke difference between the leader and players playing the third card. Anything can happen.
Yeah.
And the chase card will be a battle because they're all starting out at the exact even score. And also in the lead card, it's still super tight. Yeah. So it's going to be exciting to watch.
Well, I see that has also moved up 20 minutes. Are we just getting the party started, the after party started that much earlier tomorrow night? Is that why we saw the lead card move up 20 more minutes on that one as well?
I have no idea.
I'm going to say we are.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Yeah. Party starts early tomorrow, 3:10 local time. If you are coming out to spectate or be part of it, 3:10 is the time. I don't know, figure it out wherever you are, if some other country that you're in.
You do know that I hate correcting you sometimes.
Well, I don't know. Do you hate?
But the MPO lead card has started around 3:10.
Oh, they have
today and yesterday.
Okay,
so
well
we're
then,
not moving.
What do I know?
So we're not moving.
You're not
actually
moving. All right.
that much.
You're just making me get up earlier.
Yeah, it's the same time. It's the same time, and also as mentioned before, we will be doing that live coverage for the MPO side with commentary as well, and I'm hoping to see a lot of you guys there.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting, and it's just a few feet outside the door from where we're at the moment, which is even better. What happens tomorrow night? Awards, but then what?
Well, tomorrow is probably my favorite part of the entire Tyyni event, despite the fact that I will be doing some emceeing before it. But still, we're going to have the Fly Mart and the player get together. So there's going to be a lot of people, hopefully a lot of laughters, hopefully a lot of hugs, especially to the TDs. Hashtag give your TD a hug. And some real nice get-togethers between friends, I would say.
Okay.
You know, because all of the players are gonna be here. Well, at least most of the players are gonna be here. Players will be able to talk to each other. Players will be able to talk to representatives of the sponsors, of the disc manufacturers, and the amateurs will be able to meet up, catch up with the pros, maybe get their autographs in, ask a few hot questions, and so I think it's going to be great.
All right, I agree, and I'm looking forward to it myself. Something else that the players should be doing after their rounds is a cool down, some kind of way to get themselves prepared to wrap up their day and then get their body prepared. And I know just the guy that could give us a little more insight on that. And I think it's time. We're going to welcome in Seth Muncy from Disc Golf Strong. I don't know if we have a fancy segue or not to cut to commercial, or if we're just going to bring him right in and get to it. Yeah, we're going to do that.
Yeah, we can do that.
All right, welcome to the show. Hey, Seth.
Hello. Glad to be here.
Ah, awesome. We can also hear you now.
Do I need
Perfect.
We'll give you these. I mean, you want to look cool, right? You
Yes.
want to look the part? All right, well,
My new NBD.
well, Seth, I want to say, I made an Instagram post about it a couple days ago. You are officially in person, international with Disc Golf Strong. What does that mean for you?
Oh, I mean, it's so great. To go from over 3 years ago now, just starting to conceptualize the idea of helping disc golfers stay strong and healthy. Not even having a name yet, to now being here in Finland with all these amazing people and all of you, and I'm very excited to be here and for this to be happening.
Well, and clearly you've been so impactful for so many of our athletes and our players that are out there. I even think back to almost exactly a week ago, we saw Eagle McMahon withdraw from a very large event that was taking place. And even in the interview, I talked to him right after he had withdrawn from the event. He had mentioned, working with you, talking with you, figuring out what he needs to do, or maybe what he didn't do to get his body ready. What do those relationships mean for you right now in terms of who are you talking to and how are you helping out these athletes?
I'm working with a number of athletes on tour right now at different levels. Some kind of just, at the events with warming up and cooling down. Some, on a little more involved level, like Eagle and Eric Oakley and Tina Oakley and others. With Eagle and Eric to be out here, and Tina to help them, with their warm-ups or in any way I can, is really important. This is why I wanted to be here also, to be here for them. And, the second part of your question, sorry.
Well, I just asking, you mentioned who you're working with and all the things that you're doing, and that I think leads right into what do the next few weeks look like for you? You're not just here for this event; you're hanging out.
Yeah, I will be here. I will be here all the way through the end of the European Open. I'm teaching some clinics because I'm also here. Part of it is I'm teaching some Disc Golf Strong clinics, and that's been really great. I was really fortunate to have the opportunity to teach 2 clinics here at the Tyyni, and then one for the Team Trilogy and a ladies only clinic on Monday here, which I'm really excited about. And so I'll be traveling throughout the area. I'll be in Norway, Oslo, Norway next week, and then I will be in Stockholm, Sweden, Copenhagen, Denmark, Tallinn, Estonia, and then back here for the European Open. So I just want to meet as many people as possible and, answer as many questions as possible on how to keep your body healthy and how to play this game forever, which is what we all want to do.
I'm going to use that answer also as a segue to my next one. I know we have been talking about this at length, even, and you've mentioned this many times, for example, over Facebook and Instagram in your Disc Golf Strong posts. But what is your vision for the future, say in about 10 years from now?
Yeah. Well, first, I just want to mention that when I first started Disc Golf Strong, Tuomas was one of the first people to reach out to me. We actually FaceTimed or Skyped a couple of years ago, and we've been talking since then. So it was great to be here and actually be able to shake his hand and meet him in person a few days ago. 10 years from now, you know, when I look at where disc golf is now and where it was 3 years ago, and where a lot of other professional sports are at with their health, their fitness, the medical, side of the sport, that's where I kind of see us going. I see the sport continuing to grow and evolve. I think we can all see that. The athletes on tour, they see that. They want to make sure that they stay healthy, that an injury doesn't knock them out for an entire season. You know, so where we're moving forward is, you know, making sure that, that there's athletic trainers at all these big events, that, you know, there's a medical staff, that the athletes are doing off-season training and in-season training. So for Disc Golf Strong, that's part of my vision, you know, in the future, is to have coaches at different areas and have bigger programs for the athletes. So that's part of it.
I love that answer, because we've touched on this during the last few days, and Terry has done it also before quite a few times. But we've been talking about professionalism and how disc golf is viewed as a sport that is constantly moving towards a more professional approach, or more professional setting, I guess would be a proper word. And the physical conditioning involved in this kind of progress is naturally an extremely important thing, because our athletes are exactly as I kind of like the fact that you labeled that every disc golfer is an athlete.
Yes.
Because it's sort of, at least for me, it's sort of slowly starting to sink in.
Yep.
And this is also causing, I'm gonna get a little bit sidetracked here, but because I am a kind of an analytical kind of person, and I like to do sort of systems designs and stuff like that. I would also really like to see somebody like you, but from the more psychological side, try to go like disc golf mentally strong type of a thing, to maybe add another level. And I think, and I'm really grateful and happy that you've sort of set some sort of a benchmark now with this physical conditioning of the athletes. So I think that is pretty awesome, and I'm hoping to see even more progress towards that professionalism in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. And to go to your point on disc golf athlete, right away when I started Disc Golf Strong, I started putting out disc golf athlete. Like on all my social media posts, I would say disc golf athlete. And, you know, I really believe that to be true, that we're either a professional touring athlete or professional athlete, or we're a recreational athlete. And really having that identity, when you have that identity that, okay, what I'm doing is very stressful on my body. I want to improve. I want to always have good performance, and I want to reduce my injury risk. When you start thinking of yourself as an athlete and not just as this is a hobby, right, then we're going to start taking better care of ourselves. I always say the great thing about disc golf is you can do it every day. And the bad thing about disc golf is you can do it every day.
Exactly.
You know, even if you shouldn't. You can't, in a lot of other sports that are as physical as we are, you can't go out and just get a group of guys together to play a baseball game every single day. You know, and so when we think of ourselves as athletes, we're going to start doing those kind of things like warming up and cooling down. You know, there was one research study that showed about an 81% injury rate in the sport, and I get messages all the time from athletes. You know, a lot on the rec side too, mainly on the rec side, that says, "Hey, I've got, you know, I found disc golf, I fell in love with it. 6 months later, I can't even like play with my kid. You know, my elbow hurts so bad or something. You know, and I tell my professional the athletes that if you look at any major sport, they spend a lot of money on strength and conditioning coaches, on training staff, on in-season conditioning and off-season conditioning. They would not invest hundreds of thousands of dollars if the science wasn't there that it improved their athletes' performance on the field or the ice or you know, the course, and also lowered their injury risk. So the science that this stuff works for athletes is there. Now it's just figuring out how to implement it.
Yeah, I'm gonna steal this opportunity to do a little reach out. I guess is again the proper term in this one. I see a lot of discussion, for example, on discussion forums regarding disc golf in the Facebook groups among, let's say, the Finnish disc golf scene, etc., etc. And that one key topic that keeps coming up is that, ouch, I injured myself. I cannot play really. I would like to play. And then well, I think I'm healed enough, so I'm going to go try. And ouch, now I injured myself again. I'm not sure I will be able to play anymore. I personally believe that one of the greatest ways to reduce that injury rate is an example set by the professional athletes who are doing disc golf now, who are on tour either in the US or touring in Europe. And here is my reach out or shout out to all of the professional players. Please, please, please let people come in and watch you or even join you when you are doing your own warm-up sessions. And please, please, please ask advice from people like Seth here, or from anyone who has that athletic approach to their game. I already mentioned Janne Hirsimäki here today. He is an excellent example of that here in Finland. So just please, please make that thing visible, and then make the kids start adopting those habits.
Yes, absolutely, because we need to really, I think the culture is already changing. Like 3 years ago when I was doing warm-ups, even my local course, people were just walking past me like, what is he doing? And that's okay. That's just where we were at the sport. They didn't train for as a basketball player, until like the 70s. And now, most professional basketball players have their own strength coach plus in the offseason. So we're moving that direction. If you look at other sports though, professional baseball players, they've been in the gym since they were young kids. It's just part of the culture now. Professional football players, they're in the gym in their high schools and their elementary schools. They're doing training. They have their coaches. So we just don't have that culture yet, but it is really starting to change. Guys like Eagle McMahon and Eric Oakley and Tina Oakley and Mattis Walk, a lot of the athletes. Sarah Hokum is one of the first athletes to reach out to me. She's a 3-time All-American volleyball player. They saw how much value there is in there, and as that culture starts to change, we'll start to see more and more people there doing their warm-ups, thinking about their performance, and I'm really excited to see that happen. And another thing I wanted to bring up, you had mentioned the mindset, the mental game. That is so important. It's something I definitely talk to my athletes about, but it's when they like to talk about it. I don't want to go up and say, "Hey, I need to talk to you about your mental game." It's if they bring it up, right?
Of course.
But I do get a lot of other people asking me questions about that. And one thing one of my wristbands that I have that this is, I don't know if you can see on the camera, it says "Trust your stuff." Disc Golf Strong, trust your stuff. That's part of a lot of my athletes. Eagle wears one, Eric wears one. Avery wears one, Jenkins, a lot of them wear them, is, really making sure that, you go out there and you trust your stuff. And you trust it when you've prepared properly, both physically, both with your skill practice, your mental practice. That's really important. And I get questions about the mental game quite often. Someone the other day at dinner asked me a question. He said, when I go and I'm looking at a shot and I think that there's 2 discs that could work, he said, I always have trouble and then I pick a disc and then I throw it and it just always turns out bad. And he said, I think, man, I should have thrown that other disc. This was the wrong disc. He goes, what should I do? And I said, only throw 1 disc. And he goes, but I am only throwing 1 disc. I said, no, you're not. You're throwing 2 discs. Because as you're throwing, you're second guessing yourself and you're thinking about what that other disc would do as you're throwing that first disc, so you're throwing 2 discs. My old sports professor, psychology professor, he worked with many, many top athletes, and he would do the same. That's where I kind of got that from him. He said he would work with professional pitchers in spring training, and he would go out there when he'd see him getting frustrated, and he would hand him 2 balls. He said, okay, I want you to start throwing 2 balls at the hitter. And they say, how can I throw 2 balls at the hitter? He goes, well, you're throwing this pitch and you're throwing the last pitch that you just threw.
Exactly.
Because you're still thinking about it. So throw 1. And the guy was like, wow, that was it. Yeah. Okay, that's a game changer.
I like that. That is easy also. Just trust your stuff.
Exactly.
That's where it goes. And this is also a shout out to Big Germ.
Yes.
Out there right now. This is where stuff comes from, in case you were wondering. Just trust it. Trust your stuff.
Exactly.
All right, Seth. Well, one of the problems that I know you face as we're going to wrap things up is that you can't possibly help every single person that sends you a text or an email or sends you a Facebook message. So if they want to go out and they want to get either started or figure out what the next step is for them, because you can't give every person individual attention just yet, where should they go and how can they find it? What do they need to do?
Yeah, well, all the social media, Disc Golf Strong is available to check that out. And also I have an app.
Yep.
And that's probably the best place to also start is you can just download it. There's a free version that you can download on iPhone and Android, and just download that. It's a free version. There's a free side to create an account. I have over 400 exercises in there. I have some starting programs. I have the warm-up, the pre-round warm-up in there that I put all my athletes through, because I get a lot of questions and I love getting them and I love answering them, but a lot of them, like you said, they can't be answered. I say, have you checked out these stuff in the app? And they go, oh, I didn't even know that. And then they check it out and go, oh, okay, perfect. My answer was in there. So definitely start there first.
And I was just going to say a little bit of a heads up for everyone. If you see our athletes out there before the round, and I see whether it's a national tour or a pro tour at any of their events, whether it's an A or a B tier or whatever it might be these days, if a top player is doing some warm-up exercises, it's probably fully explained already for free in the app. So go download it, go become very familiar with it. You don't have to pay anything. It's all out there. So he's not keeping any secrets from anyone out there. So when you see them warming up, you too could be doing those exact same exercises along with the instruction that Seth has given on the app.
Yes, and help change the culture in the sport.
Yeah.
You're not going to look weird if you're out there and you're worried that people are going to walk by you looking weird. Just point to a video of Eagle McMahon doing it. You know,
exactly.
Eagle has told me this. I was just talking, excuse me, to the other day with him about it. If he had the opportunity to either warm up or throw before a round, he would make sure he did his warm-up routine first. So
yeah, I heard him say that very thing, and that makes perfect sense. Believe it or not, even when I started in high school, I stretched, and disc golf was in a different spot, but people even thought that was funny. It's like I learned very early on that you need to get yourself stretched out and get ready for a round. So
yes.
All right, Seth, well, we appreciate the insight. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Again, check out the app, and if you're in any of the areas that you just mentioned, Seth is still working on finalizing a few of the clinics that will be available in the next month or so. And I know you're working with a few tournament directors and area organizers in some of those areas I just mentioned. So find him on Facebook, Disc Golf Strong, of course. Make sure you find him on Facebook so that you can get all the details.
Thank you. I'll be posting the schedule, but the big next one is in I think I'm saying it right, Cottis.
I'm not going to correct you, man.
On Tuesday. So
that is good.
Yeah, perfect.
All right. Thank you very much, Seth. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Well, I think we've got a pretty good recap of what we saw here today. I think we also have a pretty good view of or preview of what we're going to see tomorrow. Looks like weather is again going to cooperate.
Yes, sir.
Should I knock on wood somewhere? I don't know if you guys do that here, but knock on some wood. Weather looks like it will cooperate, and then additional post-tournament festivities I think will ensue, and I can't imagine there's anyone not looking forward to that.
You do know how much I love statistics of all kind, and therefore there's one more.
Is there a party ratio?
Actually, no. I'm already moved past the party because we haven't touched on the AM side really today.
Okay.
So therefore, there's one number I still want to push out there, and that one number we just received confirmation from the TDs here that for the Tyyni entire duration of Tyyni, including the main tournament as well as the side events, we are looking at more than 4,100 PDGA rated rounds in total. 4,100 is not enough when we're counting the number of PDGA rated rounds during the Tyyni event. That, ladies and gentlemen, is a pretty impressive number.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. And that is all, of course, thanks to the tremendous staff and crew, some of which are right in front of us right now, that are both brave and crazy enough to take this on for the week. So thank you to all of you guys.
Sometimes crazy is good.
Are they zombies at this point? I don't know. As we look out into the field, it looks like they've got it all together. All right. Well, we're going to start closing things out officially tomorrow night. I think we're going to have probably a brief recap to kind of celebrate the fact that things are coming to a close. Mm-hmm. So look for us tomorrow night. I'm not sure exactly on the time, but we'll get something out for you guys, and maybe we'll have a champion or two be able to sit in with us for a few moments, something along those lines. I would feel terrible if I didn't, so I want to quickly congratulate on the other side of the pond over at our World Championships for the age-protected divisions. I'm going to read just the winners quickly. Pam Renicky, Lori Close Kupa, Rick Vokes, Pete May, Carlos Rigby all closed out World Championship titles in age-protected divisions over at Smuggler's Notch in Vermont today. There's still more that will be decided upon tomorrow, but so many great ambassadors and pioneers of our sport, and of course now world champions. Most of them multiple-time world champions.
But
now,
still, it's always a great achievement. So congratulations to the world champions.
Of course, and good luck to anyone else finishing over there on the final rounds in Smuggler's Notch. So for Thomas and Seth, who was here a little earlier, and myself, Terry Miller, the disc golf guy, for all of the staff and the crew, thank you guys so much for tuning in again tonight. We look forward to closing things out tomorrow. We'll see you again on Saturday from Tyyni.